Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks. On Thursday, the first day of March, year of our Lord 2018, welcome to the John Moore Show. Breaking news on Drudge Report as we speak. President Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, is bragging about his new missiles that will go 20 times the speed of sound and cannot be shot down by any known anti-ballistic missile, and other revelations he's making about other types of weapons as well, bragging about how they're superior to anything we have, which they may very well be, I don't know. Prepper tip of the day. If you choose to, you can find some real bargains. You need to be diligent. You need to exercise caution going to these government auction sites. Everything from 1,000 pairs of socks to trucks to airplanes and everything in between. Here's a couple of websites. I'll go through these twice slowly each. Govdeals.com, that's Golf Oscar Victor. Govdeals.com. Next we have publicsurplus.com, publicsurplus.com. Another one I've been to quite a few times, govliquidation.com. That's Golf Oscar Victor, govliquidation.com. And last but not least, govplanet.com, govplanet.com. And there's others out there. Pretty much each of the 50 states each have their own surplus auctions. These universities, state universities, public universities have auctions also. So check that out. Like I say, be cautious. I will not buy something really expensive, such as a truck, for example, without inspecting it first to make sure that it is exactly what it's believed to be. Okay, we have patiently in the green room my friend Tim Spencer. Tim is a husband, a father, a grandfather, a rancher, a veteran of the United States Navy Submarine Corps, where he was both a bubblehead and a submariner, and proprietor of the excellent website ruralsurvival.info. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, John. How are you doing this morning?
Good. I'm kind of curious. Where does the term bubblehead come from?
You know, I truly don't. I don't know, John. I truly do not know. It's just one of those things that just stuck over the years, I guess. I mean, before I went in the Navy, submariners were bubbleheads.
Part of the culture.
They still are bubbleheads, and I mean, it was originally
part of the culture.
As a derogatory term, I believe, but we, you know, just like the term deplorables, we sort of wear it with pride.
So it's part of the culture and lost in the, if we have any older submariners who know where the term bubblehead comes from, some of you guys who were in the Navy maybe back in the 50s may know where that term came from. We'd be glad to hear that here at Republic Broadcasting. The call number is 800-313-9443. It would be kind of one of those fun little nuance things that would be interesting, absolutely. There's other things within the military culture, such as leather neck, where the Marines were wearing leather collars to protect themselves from the Muslims who were like to cut them with knives. Let's see, jarhead. I'm not sure where jarhead comes from. That's another term regarding Marine.
Well, actually,
what are some other ones, Tim?
I know where that one comes from. The haircut, I believe.
The haircut. Okay. All right. Well, I was thinking it may be, but I wasn't sure. Yep. And guys in the Air Force who fly the aircraft are called zoomies, I know. And infantrymen are called ground pounders.
Yep.
Artillery guys are called cannon cockers. So yeah, there's a lot of little nuances like that with all the military services, aren't there?
Oh yeah, and of course in the Navy, the aviation people, their nickname is Airedales. I'm assuming in reference to the dog breed, but I don't know that for sure.
Airedales. Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, Tim, the Second Amendment is under serious attack these days.
Yes.
It's media-driven, emotion-driven, politically driven. Right next door to us in Illinois, there's legislation there, and I haven't read it. I've heard some summaries. If the summaries are accurate, it would be the end of the Second Amendment for most people in Illinois as we know it now, wouldn't it?
That's what I've heard. I, like you, have not read it. I really, truly have no idea what's in it. But yeah, you're right. And it's not just the Second Amendment; it's also the First Amendment. Well, not by law, but that's the reality of the situation on the ground. The First Amendment's being attacked incredibly. Also look at all the people in our business that have been booted off YouTube in the past 10 days.
Right. Well,
I'm surprised you and I haven't been.
Well, as long as Republic Broadcasting is on the air, you and I will be on the air. But getting back to Illinois, Cook County, and then the counties that touch it that surround it are called the necklace counties. And I'm not sure how many that is, 4 or 5 necklace counties. Those 4, 5, or 6 counties up there control the politics for the rest of the state, don't they?
Yes, that's the way I understand it, correct.
It's very unfortunate because once you get 50 or 60 miles south of Chicago, people think normal, act normal, have normal American values and a normal American culture, and they're fed up with what goes on in Springfield, Illinois, as a consequence of that heavy population of about 12 million people around Chicago there.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. We've been reading stories about the out migration of people leaving Illinois. If these anti-gun measures do pass the legislature or signed by the governor, I would expect to see a dramatic increase in that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I agree. In fact, it surprised me, even right here in Salem, the number of people that consider themselves refugees from the land of Lincoln there. They are adamant about how much better it is here in Missouri than it was in Illinois. And it actually
we'll put out...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I'm talking over you, but let's put out an official welcome to all you Illinois folks who are conservative, normal-thinking Americans and want to get out of the socialist state of Illinois, and you're welcome to Missouri. You can come to our state. All right, there's 113 counties in Missouri, with the exception of about 4 or 5 of them. You can build what you want without a permit, without inspections, no government interference in what you want to build, a house or a barn or a garage or all 3, and have a free life owning all the firearms that you want, rifles, shotguns, pistols, machine guns, even as my liberal friends would say, bazookas. that seems to be that's where liberals go to pretty quickly. John, do you mean people should be able to own bazookas? And I have to inform, these are attorneys, by the way, because I interact with so many attorneys, most of whom are liberal. And I said, well, I'm here to inform you that if you want to own a 3.5-inch rocket launcher, which is a bazooka in the United States, you can. They've never been illegal, ever. And they can't make them illegal as much as they would like to. And Donald Trump can't make bump stocks illegal as much as he may say so publicly. It can't be done. Now, he can restrict them and make them the same category as a machine gun, which I'm sure his legal advisors have already told him that he can't make them illegal. All he can do is restrict their sales, which it's being referred to as the camel's nose under the tent. I have to agree that that's a possibility. on one hand. On the other, I quite frankly have never had any desire. If somebody before the Las Vegas shooting wanted to give me a bump stock, I may have accepted it as a gift, but I would have no desire to ever make use of it, none at all, because of the possibility of damaging a firearm and so forth.
I agree.
So I'm not, and most men and women in the gun culture who understand what bump stocks are don't have a particular attachment to them, either for practical use or from some kind of emotional attachment. They're just looked at as oddities, as novelties by most men and women in the gun culture. But on one hand. On the other, I have to repeat myself. I do agree that any legislation of that nature could be the camel's nose under the tent and could lead to other measures which we would be very much upset with. What do you think, sir?
Well, I absolutely agree with you, John. Once you, camel's nose under the tent, slippery slope, whatever one desires to call it, it amounts to the same thing. Once we do the bump stocks, then we're going to be doing the suppressors. Then we're going to be, which are already tightly controlled, and then we're going to be doing magazine capacity. Then we're going to be doing any black rifle. It just, I can see where it could never end.
Yes. Well, they've been, the anti-gun people figured out 30 plus years ago that the only way they could accomplish their goal was incrementally, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And that's, and they've also become quite sophisticated in their propaganda. I recall, I was visiting my daughter up in Washington State when they had that referendum up there, and the advertising gave the appearance, TV advertising gave the appearance that you could go to, for example, gunbroker.com, which I visit frequently, as a non-dealer, purchase a rifle, shotgun, pistol, have it delivered to your home, which you can't do that. You can't.
No,
do that.
It's impossible.
But they gave the appearance. They gave the appearance that you could, and people. It was an emotion-driven argument based on lies and outright lying propaganda, and they passed that measure. So of course, it was Washington State, and they had a more agreeable audience up there, especially the western part of the state, west of the mountains. That's where the population center is. That's where they have that heavy influence. My daughter grew up in Metro Seattle, and she tells me that something that many people, native Washington people, they're tired of all these Californians coming up there and changing the culture and changing the politics of Washington. Well, it's something we need to keep in mind. I've got a number of inquiries of people wondering which pro-gun organization should they join, and I encourage people to join Gun Owners of America. If you can only join one, Gun Owners of America. If you can join two, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership would be an excellent choice. And of course, the NRA. The NRA is not the strongest pro-gun group, in my opinion. They are the largest, but they're not. But in terms of philosophy and legislative action, they're not the best. Gun Owners of America is the best when it comes to legislative action in the area of the Second Amendment. But they all have their purpose. They all have their place. And if you can join all three, I would encourage people to do so. What do you think, Tim?
Oh, I agree. If you can afford to do so, absolutely. But I agree with you. Larry Pratt and his outfit is probably the best one to join, the most effective.
I think, now you met Larry Pratt at the expo, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, and I've also had him on my show.
Yeah. Well, he's a good guy.
I think I did.
He's kind of semi-retired these days. But, well, I know he's been on mine several. I don't know how many times he's been with you, Tim. But he knows his stuff, and we mentioned this the other day, how much passion there is in this man. When Larry Pratt is the real deal. You can't have the level of passion that this man, you can't fabricate the level of passion this man has. It's the real deal. So, yeah, Gun Owners of America, they don't get involved in the NRA when it comes to training and resources regarding firearms expertise. They have the National Firearms Museum and so forth. Nobody does it better than the NRA when it comes to training and things of that matter. But when it comes to legislative matters, when it comes to legislative matters, Gun Owners of America they call themselves the No Compromise Lobby. If the liberals and anti-gun people really understood what GOA is, they'd be more fearful of them than they would the NRA, wouldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. But the very fact that the NRA is going along with this restriction on bump stocks, for me personally, that tells me everything I need to know. Now, I'm like you. I have no desire whatsoever to have a bump stock. To me, it's just something to waste ammunition and make a lot of noise. That's really all they are. But, with them saying, oh, well, yeah, that might be reasonable, that tells me what I need to know about the NRA. They're caving in. I haven't heard anything from Larry Pratt on the subject, but, I can almost bet I know right where he's at. And I think he's in your and my corner saying, no way. But, that's just my guess.
Well, I think it's an accurate guess, and I haven't read the latest. I would be shocked and surprised if Gun Owners of America was supporting the reclassification of bump stocks to be in the same classification as machine guns. Here's our break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 21st, the first day of March. Get it out, John, the first day of March. Visiting with Tim Spencer, the proprietor of ruralsurvival.info. Tim, during the break, I looked up Gun Owners of America's position on bump stocks. Yes, they are absolutely against the reclassification of bump stocks. There's a lot of misinformation out there. They can't ban them. All they can do is reclassify them, giving them the same status as machine guns, which the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has already ruled that they're not They do not convert a semi-automatic rifle to a machine gun. But when you're dealing with ignorance and emotion, the facts don't matter, do they?
No. And you know, John, there's one thing, and I think that overall many people forget what the Second Amendment is all about. You know, what the true purpose of it is to protect us, the people, from government overreach, you know, giving us a last line of defense if necessary, and God forbid, I hope it ever is necessary. But, you know, I don't know. I kind of wonder, you know, we give money to NRA and GOA and all those folks to fight legally. You know, if everybody just put their foot down and said, no, I'm not going to play with your silly laws, and I'm not advocating they do this, but I mean, just as a last-ditch effort, say, no, I'm not playing with your silly laws. You want my guns? You want my AR-15? You try and come and get them. And, you know, that's the way I'm starting to look at it. And I know that's probably the wrong attitude to have, but that's just where I'm at in my thinking.
Well, I agree with you, and that's my way of thinking also. Tim, before the bottom of the hour break, do you have any of those flash drives in stock? And tell us what the flash drives are and where people can read the index.
Okay, well, you can go to ruralsurvival.info to read the index. Right now, I let my SSL certificate expire, which I'm going to renew today. So all kinds of security warnings come up right now if you go to ruralsurvival.info, but there's nothing harmful there. But anyway, there's 1,570 plus documents. My friend, our friend Jimmy, and I are going to be working together to increase the size by about 3 times of that flash drive in the near future.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa, baby.
It's going to have Breaking
news. Flash drive's about to have 3,000 documents and books.
Whoa. Or more.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to go to a 32 gigabyte flash drive instead of an 8 gigabyte.
It reminds me, I visited Thomas Jefferson's home, Monticello, and I got to see his personal library, which was, I'm sure maybe 2,000 or 3,000 books, and I'm looking at that and thinking, man, this is marvelous. He had one of those ladders on wheels that rolled around the room so you could get to the high shelves, and I was thoroughly impressed. But basically, we're looking at a library even larger than that, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah, if Jimmy and I are able to get together and he has time between medical appointments and all that, this is something we want to do, definitely. And we're going to try our best to make that happen this spring.
Okay.
Well,
that's great.
Of course, the price will go up, accordingly. But, right now we still have plenty of them in stock with 1,570 documents at $59.95, including shipping. Ruralsurvival.info. Click on the picture of the flash drive. Takes you to the page where the index is. You can download that 52-page index and see exactly what you're getting.
Plus plenty of room left over for important private personal documents such as real estate papers, insurance papers, medical records, things of that nature. I'm sure a lot of people escaping Hurricane Katrina wish they had those kind of documents with them, didn't they?
Oh, for sure, John. I am sure. It's amazing. I carry one in my wallet. You carry one on a lanyard around your neck. I forget I've got mine, but I've got tons of information on there. As long as I got my wallet, all my websites are backed up, all my important papers are on it. Everything is there. I've got it, and I've got it with me. So my biggest problem is remembering to update it.
Well, that's some peace of mind knowing that you've got important documents that are preserved and ready for future use as necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, before it's about an hour break, tell people about the radio show, how they can listen live into the archives, if you would, please.
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, from 10 until noon Central Time, right here on RBN, my wife Lori and I have the Rural Survival Show, and it is a really nice format. We just sit around like we're talking around the wood stove in the old country store. We talk mostly agricultural stuff, but politics, religion, you name it. Last week we had Steve Whitman on. If you want to hear that show, you can either go to Freedom Tube or at freedom.social, or you can go to YouTube and search the Rural Survival Show. It's on both places. We just talk, and we have a great time doing it. Lots of call-ins, lots of regular call-ins, and we just have a good time.
Absolutely. Stand by. We got a bottom of the hour break. We'll be back with Tom Berryhill. Be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our Energy Cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the Energy Cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201. Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the first day of March, and we are back. Are we back? Yes, we are. Okay, this is the 24 minutes I look forward to every week, where we talk about a marvelous healing product called the Energy Cleaner. We begin these conversations with my friend Tom Berryhill, the manufacturer of the Energy Cleaner, giving us our disclaimer. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning. We're not doctors or medical professionals. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. The information discussed today is for your education and entertainment only. If you have a medical condition requiring treatment, you should utilize the services of a medical doctor, chiropractor, or other competent practitioner.
All right. Thank you. Tom and Tim, I got a message from a young mother the other day. She and her husband want to get an energy cleaner, a mattress pad, and she expressed her concern that her two boys who occasionally climb into bed with them would have some adverse reaction to the energy cleaner. So I wrote her back, and I mentioned that there's something called the Herxheimer effect, which is when you're detoxing too fast, you get flu-like symptoms. I went on to mention that it was highly unlikely that the two children would have those symptoms. More likely the adults would.
Right.
And that if that did happen, simply to remove 6 of the 9 batteries, dramatically decreasing the power of the signal going to everybody's cells in their bodies, and then slowing down the Herxheimer effect, slowing down the detox, which for almost all people, almost all the time, eliminates a Herxheimer effect, doesn't it, Tom?
That's true. It does happen, John, on occasion. It's rather rare, but in those cases, as you just said, we recommend that they take 6 of the batteries out. The energy cleaner will run on 3 of the batteries, and it doesn't matter. There's 3 rows of 3 batteries, and you can put 3 batteries in any of those 3 rows. It's not important which one. If the lamp is blinking, it's working. So maybe go with that for a while, for a week or two, and then build up to the full strength. You can put another row of batteries in, so operate it on 6, and then finally go to all 9 batteries.
Right. And I've coached a number of people in exactly that manner, having them start with 3, work up to the point where they can put in 3 more, and then finally work up to the point where they can put in the last 3 and get the full effect of the energy cleaner. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a marvelous healing device. This is radio. despite Tom and Tim and I talking about this 8 years, there's new people every week that have never heard our message, never heard about the energy cleaner. So here we go. A healing device. It's not a TENS unit. It's not a right frequency generator. An electrostatic signal, similar to a radio. It's not a radio signal, but that's as close as you can imagine for something that you can relate to. Signal goes to every cell in your body, flushing out toxins, bringing in fresh nutrition. And we focus publicly on two things: getting a great night's sleep, which I do every night, and pain mitigation, which whatever aches and pains I go to bed with, I wake up pain-free in the morning. And we've helped literally I guess at this point it would be thousands of people, wouldn't it, Tom?
Oh, for sure, John. There's over 20,000 of these energy cleaners out there all over the world as we speak. So, many right. people have received a lot of help.
And they get their life back. They go back to doing whatever their passion is, whether it's ranching or golfing or fishing or running marathons, whatever it might be. And they don't look back, do they, Tim?
No. At least I don't know of anybody that does. In fact, as you and Tom have said many times, a lot of people don't even like to think about or talk about how they were before they got on the energy cleaner. They're having so much fun enjoying life that they just don't even want to think about it.
Well, if you want to learn more about the energy cleaner, you can go to my website, thelibertyman.com. You can read up on the patent application information. You can read the wonderful testimonials from people that we know, such as Steve Whitman, and then go ahead and make your decision to get yourself an energy cleaner and get yourself a mattress pad to go with it. Most people these days are getting the mattress pad at the get-go, and start getting your life back. You're maybe sitting there. You could be in Maine or California or Florida or Washington State or Texas, pondering and thinking and wondering, I wonder if that thing will work for me. Well, here's something to consider. I offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. So you're risking nothing when you get an energy cleaner. That 90-day money-back guarantee is something that should give you some peace of mind, knowing that if you happen to be in that unfortunate 1 or 2% that it doesn't work for, you ship it back, and I refund your money. So, Tim, people got nothing to worry about, do they, sir?
Oh, no. And, the thing I can't get over about the energy cleaner is if it didn't work, why would so many people be reordering their second and third one and sometimes their eighth and ninth one from you if they did not work? Well,
obviously, including medical doctors. Right.
And that's correct. And that right there ought to tell everybody something.
It should.
Will they work for everybody? I don't know. It worked for me. I know that.
Well, the medical establishment, allopathic medicine, has such a high level of credibility with most Americans most of the time. They've got these multi-million-dollar medical complexes full of expensive equipment, men and women who've gone to school 8, 10, 12 years past high school to get these impressive credentials. And I know that's what you were thinking 8 years ago when I presented you with an energy cleaner. You're looking at this plastic box with flashlight batteries in it, and here's this guy, this homicide detective with no medical credentials at all, John Moore, telling you, hey, Tim, this plastic box with 9 batteries in it, 9 flashlight batteries. This little plastic box will do things that the world's largest health care system, the VA, can't do. So it's a leap of faith. It was absolutely a leap of faith. And if it wasn't for me, we'd built up a friendship and trust between us by then. If it wasn't for the personal relationship we had, you never would have used it at all, would you?
Probably not, no. But I certainly wouldn't have bought it. I really wouldn't have.
Right.
In fact, while we were sitting there at that expo, this was when you first started carrying the energy cleaner. And we were, talking to people. And, of course, I referred everybody to you that asked about the energy cleaner. And, I got 2 days of listening to it, about it, so I knew what it was. But, no, I didn't have a lot of confidence. I truly didn't. But, boy, was I wrong.
Oh, of course not. That's a given. That's a given. But we were talking earlier in the show about these anti-Second Amendment things being driven by ignorance and emotion. Yes. And a lot of what goes on in America in terms of what people do and they don't do, decisions they make, is based on ignorance and emotion. For example, I was in Walgreens yesterday picking up a padded mailing envelope, and I walked past a section in Walgreens, which is a nationwide convenience store, pharmacy, and they had about 40 or 50 products that all had the same sticker on it, as seen on TV.
Right.
Now, that for a percentage of adults in this country, that little sticker, as seen on TV, gives a certain level of credibility, doesn't it, Tom?
Well, yeah, I guess so, John. If people have seen it on television, it must be good. Yeah, it must be good.
Well, yeah. If it has that sticker on it, as seen on TV, I'm not going to. Most of John Moore radio show listeners wouldn't apply to, but for a large percentage of American adults, it does lend credibility and assist in sales. Otherwise, why would they do it, right, Tim?
Oh, exactly right. I was watching a video on YouTube the other night. I don't even know why I was watching it, just something that popped up, I guess. But it was one of the things that they were talking about was that shake weight that they came out with here 10, 12 years ago. And the fact that somebody was able to come up with marketing that was affordable on television made the manufacturer and the inventor some $40 million over about an 18-month period. However, it didn't take long for the medical establishment to come out and say, hey, instead of spending $39.95, you can walk around the block and burn the same number of calories.
Exactly.
And, I thought it was funny, just because they came up with that amount of money needed to advertise.
Right. Well, what we're promoting here is the real deal. We've got medical doctors buying these units for themselves and their family members. We've got chiropractors buying these units for themselves and their family members. People from all walks of life and all levels of income. I've had a number of people that they have to save up several months before they can accumulate $285 to buy themselves an energy cleaner, and they're so joyful when they do have that. Yeah. Well, they're so joyful when they do have that $285 saved up that they can make that purchase. And what you're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen, when you do make that purchase and get yourself set up with an energy cleaner and a mattress bed, you're going to find yourself with more energy and more ability to do the things that you want to do, that you need to do. They may be related to your career and earning income. It may be related to just having fun. But regardless, that's going to be your choice, how you expend that extra energy and how you get your life back by not being distracted by pain. And Tim, you know firsthand, since pain has played such a big part, pain will absolutely take over your life, won't it, sir?
It will, especially when it's constant and unrelenting, 24/7. As I've said many times, and I'm not exaggerating, 8 years ago, every breath hurt. Not because of my lungs, but because of my back. Quite literally, every single breath hurt. And I got very little relief, without major amounts of pain medicine. Now, you look at me when we were at that expo. What was it, every 4 hours I was going to get back to my motel room to get 2 more pain pills? And that was...
Right, it was that, and you would... Right.
Yeah.
You would do that, and you would stand for a while until that hurt. You would sit for a while until that hurt, and you just went back and forth, standing and sitting, and then making periodic trips back to the hotel room to get another dose of whatever pain medication it was you were taking at the time.
I think it was hydrocodone or back then. I'm not sure. I was on so many, I don't remember which one when.
Well, that's neither here nor there because we're looking back in hindsight. Ladies and gentlemen, check out the energy cleaner at my website. You can place your order right there at my website using MasterCard, Visa. PayPal is great, by the way. If everybody's concerned about security on the internet, PayPal is the most secure way to make purchases on the internet. Nothing else even comes close. As I mentioned, MasterCard, Visa. You can send me a check or money order. My address is right there at my website at thelibertyman.com. And, of course, I have a toll-free order line. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Answered by very polite young men and women in my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri, not somebody in Mumbai. And they're very good at taking these orders. Tom, do you have any updates? I know you're working on one or two new products, which people are going to be asking for them as soon as we figure out what they are. So we can't talk about what they are yet, but what kind of progress are we making in that area, sir?
Well, pretty good progress, John. The electronics is all complete, software written, all that's complete. There's always a stumbling block, though, it seems like, and the current bump in the road, I guess I would say, is some equipment I need, and the expense is way up there. So I'm just putting the funds together to get that one piece of machinery, and then I can start producing them. It's just kind of at a standstill because of that.
Okay. Well, you're working at it. You're being diligent in getting this project going, and we're looking forward to having that, that product or products available for the public. And whatever it takes, Tom, let's get it going because people are hurting out there, and you got new ways to give people new forms of relief, don't you?
Oh yeah. These will be pretty well received, I think, and price will be right and all that. But John, to keep the cost down, I have to set up molds and everything to fabricate the cases. If I buy ready-made cases, the cost is just through the roof, and that's what I have to do is get the proper equipment and everything and set it up and keep the cost to a minimum. It's sometimes you have to spend a little bit to do that. So that's what I'm doing. I could purchase the plastic cases off the shelf, but they're just way too expensive for what we need to do.
Okay. All right, no problem. Hey, Tom, apparently we lost John temporarily. Maybe his Skype connection got lost or something. I'm curious, do I still get to be your guinea pig on these new products?
Oh yeah, Tim. We need somebody like you, and I have a list of people that will be testing this, and you're on top of that list because you're so sensitive to pain issues. With the journey you've taken with all this, the injuries that you suffered. And I'll tell you what, it's pretty close, Tim, and you'll be the first one to get a unit, and that way we can compare it to a couple of different versions, and the feedback from you will be really, really important as to how we proceed. So you'll be the first
fantastic
one. Yeah.
That is great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have our final break at this hour. We will be back in 3 minutes, 800-313-9443.
All right, we are back. We are back, and it sounds. I think I'm connected again. J.R. Moore here on the 1st of March, visiting with Tom Berryhill and Tim Spencer. It becomes kind of a mantra, Tim, where you and I and Tom, and mostly myself, talk about the energy cleaner procrastinators. You procrastinated for 2 weeks, and you regret that. There's lots of people listening all over the planet, in Germany, in England, and obviously the United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, thinking and pondering and wondering, and of course procrastinating. Tim, what's your message to those procrastinators and all over the planet listening to us talk, sir?
Well, two points real quick. One is those people that are procrastinating are hurting no one but themselves, really. Not hurting you, me, or Tom. Secondly, there is no risk to speak of other than the mattress pads. The energy cleaner itself, you offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. So between those 2 points, I don't see why anybody would wait that needs one.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the response from somebody who knows. Somebody's been there, done that, got the T-shirt, as they say, who went from being a semi-invalid to riding his ponies and climbing radio towers and using his chainsaw around his ranch there in the Missouri Ozarks. A dramatic change, and people who hadn't seen you for a while, when you went to visit friends and family in Florida, they were shocked and amazed, weren't they?
Yeah, they really were. They couldn't believe how good I looked. And I was doing good. Now, I had some other medical problems that, energy cleaner probably couldn't help, like congestive heart failure. But, other than that, they were really surprised. I mean, I was doing stuff down there, electrical work, working on swimming pools, pool pumps. I was doing all kinds of stuff that they never thought it'd be possible for me to ever do again.
Right, and you thought the same thing prior to using an energy cleaner, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was all over. But at the very least, the energy cleaner has saved me from 10 years, or 9 years, I guess, of being, institutionalized.
Right, yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, just wheel me over into a corner and clean up the drool. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you moved on from that outcome very quickly in a matter of weeks. You were backing off the pain meds, getting more energy, and becoming more active. And then I remember that first winter, only about 3 months after starting using energy cleaner, you were telling me how when you were laying on a concrete floor when it was 20 degrees, working on a tractor, how it hurt. And I said, Tim, you could be a 20-year-old Marine laying on a concrete floor when it's 20 degrees and it's going to hurt. Of course it's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's true. It is, yeah.
But the fact that you were doing it is what people found surprising and shocking, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was surprised and shocked myself that I could do the things I used to do again. It was just incredible.
Well, that's it. Tom, thank you, sir. We got a top of the hour break. We'll be back with Tim Spencer. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the first day of March. Pro tip of the day. There are several websites that can direct you to government auctions of everything you can imagine, from tools to trucks to boats, pretty much anything you can imagine. Here's a few of these websites. Govdeals.com, that's Golf Oscar Victor, govdeals.com. Another one would be publicsurplus.com, publicsurplus.com. Then we go to Gov Liquidation, singular, govliquidation.com. And last but not least, govplanet.com, govplanet.com. And there's others. Look up one for your state. Each states each have their own auction sites to get rid of surplus. Universities have their own individual surplus auctions and so forth. Be diligent. Do your homework. You could end up with an excellent bargain, or you can end up with something, as my grandmother would say, a pig in a poke, a very expensive item that is not anywhere close to what you thought it should be. The second hour, Tim Spencer back with us, and we're going to be talking about all manner of things, geopolitical, cultural, and so forth. And Tim, of course, is the proprietor of ruralsurvival.info. If you have any interest at all, whether it's becoming part of a hobby farm, starting a hobby farm, maybe simply growing tomatoes on the porch of your apartment, a balcony of your apartment in 5-gallon barrels, you'll find what you need there, won't you, Tim? Is Tim there? Did we lose Tim?
Doggone, I forgot the mute button again. Hey, first day of the month. What can I say?
Well,
hey, I
have to do this with Jimmy Kinsling all the time. He just gets distracted by all the activity going on.
Yeah, but anyway, to answer your question, yes, there's tons of information on ruralsurvival.info. Literally hundreds of free downloads, hundreds of articles.
Right. I'm reading an article here at the on Drudge Report about a gorilla statue being removed from a city park because it's racially insensitive. I'm not sure. Where does that come from? Is it because it's a gorilla and not a chimpanzee? I'm not sure. The city is Corsicana, which I think is in the Dallas area, I believe, Dallas, Texas area, probably a suburb of Dallas. Anybody knows exactly where Corsicana is. But there's a children's playground, looks like the typical modern playground with all the equipment and primary colors in it. There's this steel cage that used to have a full-size statue of a gorilla in there that has been removed. The statue is named Dobby, D-O-B-B-Y, and it's been removed because it's racially insensitive.
I don't know how they figure that.
I don't know. I don't know. It sounds to me like a bunch of silliness, but the statue's been there for 20 years. So we've got that many years worth, 20 years worth of children enjoying that playground and being there in the presence of the statue and climbing on the iron bars around the statue of the gorilla. This political correctness stuff is getting carried away, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Of course, I've said that as soon as they started attacking the various Confederate monuments also. You got multiple generations of people that think the War of Northern Aggression was fought over slavery. Another lie. But, I see nothing racist or racially motivated about a statue of a gorilla. I don't make the connection in my mind. I truly don't. And the question is, which race does it offend?
I don't know. It's just a mystery to me.
They can get over it.
Yeah, it's a mystery to me. It'll be 2 years ago this spring that the whole thing about the Confederate memorials and war memorials and the Confederate battle flag popped up. Pushback was immediate. The unprecedented sales of Confederate battle flags. I contacted one of the wholesalers, and I couldn't. I wanted to buy a stock of these flags so I can inventory them because I know my demographics. And in our neighborhood where you and I live, Tim, I would say it's about one home in 15 or so is going to be flying the stars and bars. Would that be somewhat close?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, positively. At least maybe more in some areas. The more rural you get, the more rural you see them. I mean, the more you see them in rural areas. So, yeah, absolutely.
And then
now the Gadsden flag is becoming
youngsters driving their.
I was just going to say the Gadsden flags are becoming just as popular too.
I'm seeing them more and more. I fly a 3x5 foot embroidered Confederate battle flag at my home, and a 3x5 foot Gadsden flag embroidered right next to it.
Right.
And when you come up my driveway, you're headed straight towards those two flags. I fly them. Actually, they're attached to the wall of one of our buildings with a overhang so that the ultraviolet won't wreck these flags. The ultraviolet is tough on fabric.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to stay there for many years and be in pristine condition. Because these embroidered flags, you're looking at $50 or so for one flag.
Oh, yeah.
But the one of the officials in our county refers to Merrimack River as "quote unquote" the Mason-Dixon line, which has a couple of connotations. A couple of connotations to it. The Merrimack River does kind of split the county north-south as it goes east-west. But south of the Merrimack River is the county seat, Steelville. And, of course, north of it is where most population is, with Cuba, Missouri, and Bourbon and St. James. It's only been, if you're my age, it's only been 60 years ago, actually about 59 years ago, that the last Civil War veteran died. And the last Civil War widow died only maybe 20 or 30 years ago. So we don't have anybody who was alive during the Civil War anymore, but we have many people who knew Civil War veterans still alive, don't we, Tim?
Oh, yeah, positively. In fact, my adopted mother, her father, which would have been my great-grandfather, fought for Florida during the Civil War. So, yeah, positively. There are people alive.
That's right. Absolutely. The sympathies and the people in our area tend to know our heritage. They tend to know real history as opposed to fabricated history. And these feelings carry forward through generations, don't they?
Well, yeah, it's all part of the culture, John, that I don't know if... I think most of our listeners will understand, but it's a sort of a pride thing. Yes, our families lost the war, but we were very proud of what we were fighting for, which was basically independence from a tyrannical government. And
That's
we're
right.
proud of that fact. And we're proud of the service our ancestors gave to the Confederacy. And it has nothing to do with
That's right.
race, believe me.
No. In fact, there were many black soldiers on the side of the Confederate States of America, weren't there?
Oh, yes, there were. There certainly were. And
Thousands.
Something I was reading the other day. I didn't mean to interrupt, John. Go ahead.
No, I interrupted you. Go ahead. What did you read the other day?
What they were talking about was how these, the politically correct truths are being taught in the universities, whereas the actual facts of reality are not being taught. And one of the things they were mentioning was that in the South, that per capita, more blacks owned slaves than whites did.
Well, that brings up something else. The largest what?
The largest slave owner, the greatest number of slaves, was owned by a black man.
Well, let's begin from the beginning. You're a black man with a black wife and a couple of black children living in East Africa. You're out there tending your garden when you're attacked by black Muslims who capture you and your wife and your kids The black Muslims take you to the place where you and your family are sold to Jewish slave traders, who they typically were at the time, who are then at that sale transported to the final destination for the final sale, which could be in England or South America or Egypt or in any number of places within the British Empire, especially. So, blaming whites for slavery is a misdirected blame, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely it is. But like the article was pointing out, the politically correct truth is being what's taught, not the real truth, which apparently is not being taught until people start working on their doctorate. So, the lie continues, and that's just one of many.
Well, most high school English teachers do not have a PhD, do they?
No.
No. Typically, you're going to find a huge percentage of high school history teachers are going to have a bachelor's degree. Some may have a master's, but almost none will have a PhD. Typically,
correct.
in that career field, once you get your PhD, you're no longer teaching anyway. You go into administration, don't you?
Yes, the way I understand things, correct. That is correct.
Yep. I was reading recently about the what was that ship with the slave ship, the Amistad?
Okay. Yes, I took yes.
Where the slaves took over the ship, and they were prosecuted, and who was it? One of our founding fathers ended up defending these guys and winning the court battle to have them repatriated back to their home country where they were stolen from in the first place. That was a big deal, wasn't it?
Yes, it absolutely was. In fact, it was actually, on a cultural level, it actually shook the entire paradigm of many of the big corporations of the time, East India Trading Company and, places like that. The City of London, from what I've read, was quite shaken by it. Somebody was turning the system on its ear and getting away with it.
That's right. So, it was a big deal at the time. We've got legislators proposing reparations to people for their ancestors having been slaves. This comes up periodically. I don't know if it ever would come to pass, but I put it in the same category as a guaranteed income for everybody, wouldn't you?
Actually, I see it as being worse than a guaranteed income on several levels. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not agree with this guaranteed income thing. I think it'll do much more harm than any good it could possibly do for the economy. All it's going to do, in my opinion, is probably put more money in the drug dealers' pockets because there's going to be more cash floating around. But that's just my personal opinion.
Alcohol, drugs, tobacco, but I share that opinion. Here's my response to that. It's not surprising to me how much it takes to make people unproductive and lazy. What's surprising to me is how little money it takes to make people unproductive and lazy. Your response?
Agreed. I absolutely agree. I've got to admit, John, on days when I get frustrated with this computer, I'm very tempted to just throw up my hands and say, to heck with it all. And I don't make much from the work I do, really. But I'm still doing something besides collecting the government check from the VA. And I have a little bit of pride left. Not a whole lot, but I got a little left. So,
right.
I want to do something.
Well, the money that you receive from the U.S. government is is just compensation for what they took from you. They took your health, they took your vitality, they took your life. You spent basically 3 decades of being barely functional, and thanks to Energy Cleaner, you became a lot more functional. Got your life back, got your brain back. One of the well-known side effects of pain medications is they slow down your brain. Yeah. And for a really bright guy like yourself, you're still cognizant on one hand of how bright you are, and at the same time cognizant of how you can't function at the level you can and should be functioning.
Oh, it is so frustrating, John, to be in that position. So very frustrating. I don't know what to say. It's incredibly bad.
Well, frustration is a synonym for anger, and you would have every right to be angry with the consequences of that. I should mention we got a break coming up. If you got a question or comment, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Let's go back to the international scene here.
We got the music
Vladimir
playing,
Putin.
buddy.
There's our break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Thank you. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on the first day of March, Thursday. My website is thelibertyman.com. If you plan on going to Dallas to the Hear the Watchman conference, go to my website first. Click on the banner, and you'll get the promotion code to get a discount. That's looking forward to seeing a lot of you there. Visiting with Tim Spencer, the proprietor of ruralsurvival.info. Tim, we got a couple of callers on hold. First, we go to Rick in Missouri. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Tim.
Morning, buddy.
Somewhat. Hey, good morning. A little off topic, but I hope it's not inappropriate. This is kind of a comment, but then a question for Tim. There is John. I don't know if you ever listen on Saturday, but there is a product out there called Clyde's Vegetable Gardening Planner, and it's a sliding scale, something like a slide rule. But it gives you timings on planting things, which is particularly poignant right here at this point, because now is time you'd be starting some things. It also gives you dates when to start them in flats if you're going to start them inside. And here's the deal, Tim. Clyde just called me and asked if it would be all right if he called in and talked about his product Saturday morning for 5 or 10 minutes. And I said I thought it would be, but I thought it probably would be nice if I asked you about it. What do you think?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah,
That's what I told
what
him.
we're all about on Saturday's show.
Yeah, he said he'd be quick, but I think it's an interesting product that everybody could take advantage of. I'm always missing dates on getting things in, especially when it's time to put in the fall garden. I'll be 2 weeks late with that, and then I wind up putting in a bunch of stuff that never matures, and it all turns out to be wasted time. So I thought, perhaps it would be something everybody would be interested in. Anyway, I better I'll tell them. I'll tell them. And anyway, good show today, and I'll let you get on to the other callers.
Okay. Thank you for the call, Rick.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Next, we go to Dan in Missouri. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Back to the topic you were talking about that covered a lot of things, political correctness. Do you think we could work in a little levity if I edit it properly, John?
Sure. Well, go ahead.
Okay. Well, the way I heard this, there's a college in Australia that every year they choose a term that's been currently adopted. Kids use it. For a while everything was a puppy this and a puppy that, which I never understood, but I guess you were cool if you talked that way. Well, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little bit more, the term political correctness they started throwing that around like baseballs. It was everywhere. And they had this contest down in this college in Australia, and this, I'm going to read you, it's fairly short, the definition that this college kid used for political correctness, and he won the contest. Political correctness is a doctrine fostered by a delusional, illogical minority and promoted by mainstream media that holds forth the premise that it is entirely possible to pick up a piece of dung by the clean end. I read that about 4 times before I would let myself laugh. And they say you hit the nail on the head. Well, he did it with a sledgehammer, and he drove it with one spike, one blow. I thought that was really fitting.
It was brilliant.
Very true words.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my contribution to levity this morning. And your show is serious usually, and I can appreciate that. We've got a lot of serious stuff going on, to say the least. But I thought that fit. So.
Well, before you get away, Dan, there's a meetup tonight, and you'll be leading the discussion, won't you?
I'll do my best, John.
Right. So all you regular meetup people, just head on down to Rolla, dinner at 5 p.m., meeting at 6 p.m. in the third floor meeting room at the Benton Square restaurant. It's a lot of fun. I won't be there tonight, but Dan will hold down the fort, won't you, Dan?
Yes, sir. I'll do my best. It'll be hard to live without you, but we're going to make it somehow.
I'm sure you will. Okay. Thanks for the call, Dan. We appreciate it. Call number is 800-313-9443.
I forgot to put something on the website, John. That's what it was, the meetup tonight. I couldn't remember what.
There'll be people checking. We'll need to get that on there. Here's our bottom of the hour break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name, and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we're back. Let's go. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 1st of March. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Working with Tim Spencer to make a few changes to make some things easier to find. Right now, the articles and other matters related to violent earth changes, rising ocean levels, are kind of spread out in different parts of my website. We're going to be consolidating them to where they're all in one place, so you can just scroll down in one spot and go from one to the next to the next. Be very helpful when I'm doing my Dallas presentation, for example, to direct people to my website and have them to find all this evidence. And this is real evidence, by the way. I've been known for many decades. Outstanding. I've known for many decades what real evidence is, as opposed to people's flights of fancy, and this is real evidence. Also, my website, of course, you'll find energy cleaners for sale. This is my home business. When you place your order, I'm the guy that boxes them up. I take them to the Little Country Post Office in Cherryville, Missouri, where tomorrow evening you can get an all-you-can-eat catfish dinner for $8 with side dishes, dessert, and beverage. It's quite a bargain, and they sell out most every Friday evening. Only $285, shipping included to American zip codes for the energy cleaner. Keep in mind, I offer a 90-day money-back guarantee that if you have any kind of arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, the energy cleaner will most likely help. Not getting a great night's sleep, what are you waiting for? When you sleep is when you heal. You need an energy cleaner to get a great night's sleep without the benefit of any pharmaceutical products. All the details are right there at my website, where you can read up the patent application information, check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads that go with the energy cleaner, and then go ahead and place your order using PayPal, the most secure way to make any payment online, MasterCard, Visa. You can send me a check or money order. My address is there at my website at thelibertyman.com. And I have a toll-free order line, 24 hours a day. Let's see, here it is. 592, that's 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Taking questions, calls, and comments here at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443. Visiting with Tim Spencer, the proprietor of ruralsurvival.info, where people have started out writing an article or two, moved on to more articles, moved on to writing books, and becoming successful published authors, haven't they, Tim?
Oh, yeah. In fact, we had Steve Whitman on for about 70 minutes of last Saturday's show. Ori and I did. It was a fantastic show. Folks, I recommend you listen to it. We didn't talk hardly any about the energy cleaner, but we talked a lot about his writing career and about his fish camp and him being a master guide. He told lots of good stories, and to me, 2 hours wasn't enough for the show. But I encourage people to listen to that, either at RBN Archives or search the Rural Survival Show on YouTube, or go to freedom.social and click on Freedom Tube and just look for Rural Survival. And any of those three places, people can hear the show. It was well worth it, in my opinion.
That reminds me of something. The Health Ranger is starting a new platform to compete against YouTube. I'm looking forward to that. YouTube is becoming politically correct and cut off the monetization of many of the people in the paid community. Yeah, I never monetized my stuff through YouTube, but I know a lot of people had, and they lost that income. So maybe the Health Ranger will get that going again and give us an alternative to YouTube. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, John, if somebody wants to be at a website that's meant for, like-minded people. They can go to Rural Survival on the main page and scroll down about halfway, and there's a big banner there for freedom.social. And it doesn't cost anything. It's all free. In fact, they give you free stuff. And that is an up-and-coming platform. They've gone from next to nobody to 21,000, I think, this week.
Okay. Well, that's first I've heard of it, and I'll need to check that out myself. And what is that again? I'll make a note of it here.
Freedom.social.
Freedom.social. Okay.
Yeah, social is a valid TLD, just like .com, .org, and all that now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's simple and easy to remember. Freedom.social. And it's, would you say it's similar to YouTube in terms of what they do?
Well, the Freedom Tube part of it is. And it's also a bulletin board with a myriad of different subjects where people can post links to stuff, write articles, news articles. It's also got a platform for people to buy and sell and barter. And it's really a good site. A man by the name of Kent Lewis runs it. But they've even got...
well, I'm looking for it.
Yeah. They've even got coins, or we call it tokens, that you can either purchase or use for trading on their site with people that have stuff to sell.
Really?
So
okay.
It's an up-and-coming thing.
Well, good. I hope it works out, and I'll be checking it out myself and see what's going on there. Okay. Well, let's talk about the Middle East a little bit. Syria continues to be at war. Russians are shipping high-performance jet aircraft there to be used. There are so few of them. I think it's more of a political ploy and
they're sending two Su-57s, John, which are equivalent to our F-35s. The comparison is the Su-57s are not quite as fast, but they're more maneuverable. And they are not quite as stealthy on radar as our F-35s are, but they are very, very close. And they've also, the real kicker is, the Su-57 has some very long-range air-to-air missiles. We're talking 120 miles. So it's
plus, I bet you could fly it in the rain.
Yes, absolutely.
It is. A lot of people don't know what I'm talking about. How many billions with a B of dollars has it cost to put in production the F-35?
Oh, it's hundreds.
Any idea?
I know it's hundreds. I don't know how much.
Right. And here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. As opposed to a pristine condition World War II fighter plane with a propeller on it, you can't fly it in the rain like the World War II fighter, can you?
No, apparently not. And something else I was reading from Russian MOD was you can buy 2 1/3 Su-57s for the cost of one F-35. And they're touting that as a big deal for export.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of these aircraft and weapons at that level are meant as much for export as they are for internal consumption, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And if the Russians can compete with us with weapons, they're certainly going to do it.
Absolutely. It's a huge market that involves literally billions of dollars, and the real money is made on the back end. If you buy a high-performance jet aircraft, whether it's a Russian or American or French Mirage, the real money is on the parts and service, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. That's where the money comes in. The tech reps that are there by the dozens, the part which are sole source supplied. In other words, you can only get them for one place or from one place. That's where the money is. That's where the big
absolutely.
Money is.
That's right. That's very, very true. We've got a couple of calls on hold here. First, we go to Mark in Philadelphia. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, John and Tim. Couple points here. Number one has to do with race relations. And on that note, as you know, John, I'm originally from southern Missouri, and having grown up there, I growing up, I did not like the idea of the Civil War. I had a very bad taste in my mouth about it because of, I later found out that my great-great-grandfather served in the Civil War. And I don't know, maybe he was speaking to me from his grave. But growing up, I would have identified with the South. However, my great-great-grandfather, I discovered a year ago, was in the Civil War, fought for the North out of Pennsylvania, and he was actually drafted, as many men were back at that time, because at a certain point the North couldn't get anybody to go to enroll, so they had to draft him. So anyway, he fought in the Battle of the Wilderness, and the first day of the battle he was captured and taken prisoner, and that was a very fierce battle, approximately 180,000 troops from both sides, and neither side prevailed. And it was actually Grant against Lee, not their subordinates, but them directly. Now, neither side won. But anyway, he was captured, taken to Andersonville, of all places, and was a prisoner of war for 11 months. So now you would think that might count for something with race relations, because he was full-blooded German, so that makes me part German. Which makes, I guess, we identify as white. So, but I don't hear much about the black folks who claim that all whites were slave owners. I don't hear them saying anything about these guys that suffered at the hands, suffered for them and for freedom for all men, because that's what the whole war was, propagandized to be, was about slavery at the end, but it wasn't about that. It was about states' rights. So anyway, I wanted to make a note of that. And then that works into the next subject. I was working for a company, actually the name of the company is Hertz, okay, here at the local airport. And I had from day one, I did not see this coming, but from day one, I had a coworker who had it in for me, who happened to be of a different culture, a man of color. And I've learned a lot about that in the last 6 months. That I also consider myself a man of color. I guess I'm just not the right one. But anyway, this person repeatedly aggressed toward me and repeatedly threatened me, harassed me and threatened me, and the staff didn't do anything about it. That's because the staff, the managers, were also of his culture, okay, including the general manager, who is from Mali. Okay, he never fought for this country or for the Constitution. But the higher end corporation went against me. They fell on the side and went against me, and ended up writing me up as if I'd caused the whole thing. Wherein I lost a $1,000 sign-on bonus, and so Hertz folks isn't for us. And so this brings up a question, John and Tim, is that, see, how far do we go in defining who we do business with that are actually going against our cause, against good people and good business practices? For instance, the deal that happened in North Carolina with the transgender thing, where they were, North Carolina had voted that, a man's a man, a woman's a woman, and, men need to stay out of women's bathrooms. One of the companies that went against that, and they went against the state of North Carolina and said they're going to boycott the whole state, and boycott the NCAA playoffs and all of that. If you'll remember, there was a whole list of companies that they were waiting in the wings. It seemed like the thing was kind of like a setup. They were waiting in the wings just to boycott the whole state, and one of them is PayPal. Okay, so, and I know you've mentioned doing business with PayPal, and I understand that these times, I mean, who can we do business with that isn't the enemy? I mean, really, they're acting like the enemy. So what say you, John and Tim, about, how far do we go? And, it'd be great if we could erect our own ideas and erect our own companies to service us that are good companies. But how far, at what point do we say no more? We're not doing business with them because they're going against us. Like YouTube is cut off of I don't know if you've noticed this, YouTube has cut off all the gun channels. Most of them, if not all of them. So go ahead.
Well, it's a personal decision that people need to make and be satisfied with, and something that people need to be reminded of. You need to pick and choose your battles. You can't choose all the battles all the time, you'll be like a cat in a room full of mice. You won't catch any mice. So, yeah.
That's a good analogy.
So
I do
pick your
appreciate
battles.
the quandary that we're in. I understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, you need to pick your battles. When I was bodyguard for a woman, this is 1994, she had a mental list, it wasn't written down, of all the companies that supported abortion, including McDonald's and so forth. So we'd be traveling, and I'd be her bodyguard, and we never stopped at McDonald's because they use corporate funds to support abortion. AARP used corporate funds to support anti-gun measures, and it's a long list. And it can be burdensome if you try to follow all this stuff. Tim, you got any follow-up?
Well, Mark, what you were saying about companies boycotting North Carolina. If I remember correctly, the state of California, I don't know if it was North Carolina or another state, but I think it was North Carolina, the state of California, said nobody in the government could officially travel to North Carolina. I don't think that was the only state. But there you've got an entire state boycotting.
Yeah. That's just crazy, isn't it? I mean, yeah. How do you define the good guys from the bad guys when that kind of stuff's happening across the board? I mean, just crazy. But
right.
One other thing I want to mention, John, Robert Rayvold, who's also another host on one of the programs here in RBN, is he brought up that there are actually businesses somewhere in, I guess, South St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, or south side of downtown St. Louis, who actually have the sickle and the hammer outside their establishment, either like some kind of a sign or some kind of a statue or something. Have you heard of this? And he says there's multiple places that are doing it. Like that's the communist symbol. I mean, what's up with that? Had you heard that?
Well, I saw on a local news broadcast on TV, some businesses had been flying an American flag supporting the police. It's actually a violation of the U.S. Code to modify the U.S. flag, but it had one of the red stripes was actually blue and said something like "Support our police." They'd had damage and threats in the form of written threats that included the hammer and sickle on the written threats to discontinue flying that flag supporting the police. So that may have been what was being referred to. I don't know.
I see. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Tim.
Mark, thanks for the call. We got another caller on hold. We got our last break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the first day of March, visiting with Tim Spencer, the proprietor of ruralsurvival.info. Tim, before we get to our last caller, your radio show is Saturdays from 10 a.m. till noon Central Time, isn't it?
Yeah, that is correct, and I hope folks will tune in. We normally have a lot of listeners, usually nonstop callers, and it's just where we all sit down and just talk, and we have a great time. It is truly a lot of fun.
Well, I encourage people to listen and enjoy that time with Tim and his wife, Lori. Here's our last caller. We got John in Texas. Good morning, John.
Hello. I have a question about the certain international situation. Your Nyquist yesterday mentioned Germany, and they were supposed to have been that the Federal Republic was supposed to have been absorbed by East Germany over a 5-year period, and it was designed to break the NATO alliance. From what I understand, that Germany was a central key to in Soviet plans to dominate Europe all the way back to the 1920s. And in fact, it has been alleged that Stalin, that helped Hitler come to power, had the German communists help the Nazis come to power so that they could split the West, start a second imperialist war, and create a situation where they could intervene on this, take the Germans from the they would get the Western Europe in another stalemate like World War I, and in which they would intervene. It would provoke an uprising, and then intervene and take over Western Europe by bringing down Germany. However, the Germans overran Western Europe in 6 weeks, and they created a situation where they could attack the Soviet Union, but they ended up only taking about half of what they intended. But what are their plans now? What was did the fact that Germany, that the Federal Republic absorbed East Germany after the wall fell, have anything to do with the fact that the Soviet Union broke up? And was it intended that the Soviet Union would break up, or was it just supposed to appear to go into reform and become like a United States? Or is that the result of something going awry with the plan?
Yeah. The collapse of the Soviet Union was a contrived event that is not what it appears to be. It was contrived along with the apparent collapse of all the East European communist countries. It was a orchestrated event, just like a Bolshevik ballet. Nothing was left to chance. Nothing was spontaneous. It was all contrived decades before to give the appearance that communism failed. Any response or follow-up there, Tim? We're almost out of time.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. You're positively right. I really can't add anything to that, other than don't forget the city of London also had its fingers in this.
Yeah, but
right.
But
John, thank you. We're out, John. We're out of time. We're out of time. We don't have. This is more. We could go on and on, but we're down to the last 60 seconds. We appreciate your call, John. Tim. Spring is nigh upon us, and you're going to be gardening your family, aren't you?
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, I don't have time. We don't have enough time to talk about my new wheelchair, but maybe we'll do that next week. But, yeah, I get to get out there this year.
All right. I know you're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to getting reports back on how your garden's doing. Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon privately. Appreciate it.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. That's it for the day. Get your medical supplies, your energy cleaner, your essential oils, now while you can, your firearms ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day, and God bless America.